Hello students. In this chapter, we are going to learn about few microorganisms. Now, we all know that microorganisms cannot be seen with our naked eye and we require microscope or an electron microscope to see them. So, microorganism is present all around us. Even in the form of food, we consume microorganisms. So some microorganisms can be useful to us, but some are really harmful to us and can cause various diseases in us. So in this chapter, we will be studying about few harmful as well as useful microorganisms. And if they are useful, then how they are useful to us, where they are useful to us, and how we can produce things from them. So let's start. Useful organisms are organisms which do not cause any harm to us. In fact, they are useful to us in some or the other way. So first useful microorganism is lactobacilli. Now lactobacilli are anaerobic bacteria. Now what do you mean by anaerobic is that they can produce energy without using oxygen. So how they are useful to us and where these organisms are found. The microbe lactobacillus is found in yogurt. Now, how yogurt is made? From milk only yogurt is made. So what happens is a process called as fermentation take place. So you must have seen that when your mother sets the yogurt, what she does is in the milk she'll adds little amount of yogurt and we'll keep it aside for a little time. Then after 4 to 5 hours, you can see that the milk has coagulated. So this process is called as fermentation. But what exactly happens in this? Now in milk, there is a sugar that is called as lactose. If you will drink the milk, then you can find that there is some sweet taste to the milk. Without adding sugar, you have to drink the milk and you can taste a slight sweet taste is there. So that is because of the sugar lactose. So what it does is the lactobacillus, it converts the lactose which is present in the milk into lactic acid. Now when lactic acid is formed, lactic acid being an acid has a sour taste. That is the reason the yogurt has the sour taste. But also you will see that yogurt is thick. So what happens is when this lactose is getting converted to lactic acid, the pH of the milk it decreases and it results in the coagulation of the milk protein, and because of which the separation takes place and then we get the thick milk protein which is formed, which is nothing but the yogurt, and the water constituent is removed. This process is called as fermentation. In the process of fermentation, yogurt is formed, that is from milk. Due to fermentation, yogurt is formed. Next is the uses of lactobacilli, that is lactobacilli is an useful organism, so we use it for various purposes. First of all, we use it to produce various milk products like yogurt, buttermilk, ghee, cheese, shrikhand with the help of fermentation process. Secondly, we also use lactobacilli for making cider, cocoa, pickle of various vegetables. We also use lactobacilli to treat these abdominal discomfort. Whenever you have an upset stomach, you are suggested to consume yogurt and buttermilk. It helps to reduce the harmful bacteria in your stomach. So that is the reason to treat the abdominal discomfort, yogurt and buttermilks are suggested. We also use the lactobacilli to feed the domestic cattle the leavened fodder, that is the fermented fodder. Next is lactobacilli are also used in making wine and various types of bread also. Second useful microorganism is rhizobium. Now rhizobium is found in the root nodules of various plants. Now what are root nodules? In some plants, the roots have the round structures, the bulging structures, those are called as nodules. Inside the nodules, rhizobium is present. Now what it does is, it fixes the atmospheric nitrogen for the plant. Plant requires extra amount of nitrates and nitrogen. So this rhizobium, it fixes for the plant, and instead of that, it survives in that plant and consumes the food of that plant. So it is like मैं तेरी help कर रहा हूँ तो तू भी मेरी help कर. And this is called as the symbiotic relationship. So the microorganism has the symbiotic relationship with the plant. This is how the root nodules look from inside. Rhizobia needs leguminous plant like soya bean, beans, etc. as the host. Because in leguminous plant like beans and soya beans, they require more amount of nitrogen as they have more amount of protein. So these plants require more amount of nitrogenous compound. And that is the reason rhizobium is found in the leguminous plant so that it can fix the atmospheric nitrogen for the plant. This is called as the nitrogen fixation. As it fixes the nitrogen for the plant, that is why this process we call it as nitrogen fixation. This is how the rhizobia fixes the nitrogen for the plant. That is, from the atmosphere, it takes the nitrogen and supplies to the plant. And in return of it, it consumes the food that is prepared by the plant. Also, after the crop is harvested, the roots of the leguminous plant are purposely dumped into the farm to increase the bacterial population and reduce the cost of chemical fertilizer. So rhizobia is also a great beneficial plant for the farmers. Also nowadays we get seeds which are coated with rhizobial solution. So after sowing the seeds, the rhizobia enter the plant and this is called as the rhizobial inoculation. Another important useful organism is yeast. Now yeast is a fungus. It is unicellular and it is a eukaryotic cell. There are also 1500 species of yeast. Now yeast is used in baking products. If we have to bake bread or we have to bake a cake, we use yeast. Yeast also leads to the fermentation process. Now, yeast reproduces by budding. That is, if this is one yeast cell, from this a small bud will arise and slowly the bud will grow and it will separate from the parent. This is called as the budding method. But as the small bud is arising from the parent cell, this is called as budding method. So, yeast reproduces by budding method. Now yeast grows and multiply very quickly because of the carbon compounds which are present. Yeast also leads to the fermentation. Now here in this process, it converts the carbohydrates which is present in the solution into alcohol and carbon dioxide. That is why when you see the dough of the bread, you add the yeast into it. Then after some time you can find some bubbles are there. So that is because of the carbon dioxide which is formed. We use yeast to make breads and different bakery products. So in this process, we use fermentation only. That is, the carbohydrates in the solution is getting converted into alcohol and carbon dioxide. And that is the reason the bread or the pav that we see that is so spongy. Now the best use of all these useful microorganisms is in bioremediation. That is, there are some microorganisms which helps to reduce the pollution from the environment. Now we all know that our environment is getting polluted day by day. So with the help of some microorganism, we can reduce the pollution and the byproduct which is formed, it is not also harmful for the environment. For example, if you reduce the pollution by burning something, so it leads to smoke. If you reduce the garbage which is there, that is the solid waste, and if you burn it, then it will lead to air pollution. So to reduce such type of alternate products or the alternate harm that is caused, so we use this bioremediation method. That is, we use some microorganism in various fields and we reduce the pollution. The best example of bioremediation is through the organism that is Bacterium alcanivorax. Now what it does is it cleans up the oil spill which is formed. Now in the ocean, due to various spillage and due to many accidents, there it might happen that it leads to the spread of oil on the surface of the water. Now because of this, what happens is the sunlight is not able to go inside the water and the animals which are present inside the water like fishes and various aquatic animals, they are all affected because of that. So what we do is we spread the alkanivore, and what it does, alkanivore feed on the oil and it separates the oil from the water, and this is then helpful to clean the pollution which is caused because of the oil spillage in oceans. Now, from the various industries in the production of various processes, lot amount of chemicals are released which causes harm to the environment. For example, arsenic which is released. So, an bacteria that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used to clean up the arsenic pollution. Then we also used a yeast, that is Yarovilla lipolytica, to absorb the toxins which are released during the production of palm oil and heavy materials. So in this way, we are using microorganism to help us, and this is called as the green technology. That is, instead of producing the pollution, we are not producing any type of pollution and we are working with these microorganisms.